ukucela intombi. The opening segment of lobolo negotiations is known conceptually as ukucela intombi. Ukucela intombi as a concept on which the entire process of ukulobola is based has become known, or has become what can be regarded as a positive negation of the act of ukuthwala. And the case history related in this video attempts to trace, as it were, the evolution of the concept of ukucela intombi as a marriage precedent. But I'd like to begin by superficially sketching the act of ukuthwala and its ramifications for you, and then proceed to show why it became a detested marriage facilitating process. The act of ukuthwala is, as it has always been, a rogue method of facilitating marriage. So it was inevitable that with the passage of time, a respectable process to supersede it would have to be devised, or, if one already existed, then be promoted. And since ukucela intombi had always been in existence anyway, it naturally evolved in the direction of superseding ukuthwala. But what do we know, or what do we remember knowing about ukuthwala? The act of ukuthwala is also called, in English, it is called abduction. But in its proper context, ukuthwala is the act of abducting a girl for the purpose of forcing her into a marriage. That is the kind of abduction referred to as ukuthwala. That is what ukuthwala is. In the heydays of ukuthwala, its perpetrators would send to the abducted girl's family a curt directive saying, "Funelani ngapha," which meant direct your search towards our side. Now that was as good as saying, "She is here. Don't look any further." A typical response to that, a typical response by that family would be to go over there and get inkomo yesithwalo. Getting that cow, inkomo yesithwalo, was a common response to the commission of ukuthwala. It was a recognized traditional fine imposed on those people who commit the act of ukuthwala. And if that cow happened to be the only thing that they take back with them, in other words, if they just take the cow and leave the girl behind, then a herd of cattle, as a lobolo tribute, would be delivered to the abducted girl's family by the perpetrators of ukuthwala. And if that family accepted the herd, then that particular act of ukuthwala would be ratified into umendo, a marriage of the girl. But then, as time went by, ukuthwala began to encounter a variety of besetting challenges, such as when the girl would do what is called ukubukula lomendo, which means to rebuff that kind of a marriage. And then there was also a growing tendency on the part of the parents, a tendency to lend tacit support to those girls of marriageable age who openly rebelled against ukuthwala. And a further impetus to this anti-ukuthwala sentiment was given by pre-initiates, that is amakhwenkwe, who coined a slogan saying, "Akuthathwa phakum," which means what I consider to be mine is not going to be taken away. The issue for them, of course, was that ukuthwala had become an intolerable disruption of their own love relationship arrangements with the girls. The relationships known as umecho lwabo nentombi. Despite the selective focus of the slogan, when it is viewed against the perspective of the nascent anti-ukuthwala agitation, it seems to have given expression to what was an unspoken yet commonly experienced anxiety, a commonly experienced anxiety about a practice that was proving to be quite obnoxious, and that was the act of ukuthwala. So, in the quest for a process which would effectively counteract ukuthwala, the concept of ukucela intombi gained acceptance as a negation of the practice of ukuthwala. And the most emotionally significant thing about ukucela intombi, the procedure of ukucela intombi, is that it upholds the right of the girl to marry the spouse of her choice, which ukuthwala did not allow. Okay, now let us see what the following case history can teach us about ukuthwala, as well as show us where the virtues of ukucela intombi lie. Here we go. A young man named Kakai Mpandla from the village of Emala in Edutywa sent a party of young men to the village of Ekleni to go and thwala a girl named Vuyokazi Changisa. On the accomplishment of that act of ukuthwala, Kakai's family offered an unsolicited tribute of 8 cattle as a form of ikhazi to Vuyokazi's family, that is Amachangisa. And since that family of Amachangisa had decided to accept the tribute, Kakai's family proceeded to dress uVuyokazi in what is known as izinxibo zokuoda. That is the traditional code of dress for a newlywed woman. And it was quite in order for them to do so because, according to tradition, Vuyokazi was assumed to have become umfazi wasemampandleni, that is to say, a wife to Amampandla. But unfortunately, this assumption failed to take into consideration what Vuyokazi had in mind about the whole situation. So, as soon as they had finished doing all they thought tradition required of them, Vuyokazi stepped up and left the Mpandla homestead. In the process, she discarded izinxibo zokuwota and reverted to her traditional maidenhood attire of umbhaco omfutshane. That is a short wraparound kind of skirt which is worn by intombi, the maidens. As she had had a lover, that is what is called imecha, who was still a pre-initiate inkwenkwe. She continued to participate in the pre-initiate parties known as imichocho and its related functions. Her action was a positive assertion that, in spite of what had occurred to her, she had not become inkazana, but that she was still intombi, a maiden. It was, in a sense, a public statement that her maidenhood virtues, ubuntombi bakhe, were still intact. Had any of those virtues been compromised, that fact would have been reflected in her wearing of a differently designed umbhaco. It would still have been a wraparound skirt, but with a hemline reaching below the knees to indicate that a slight change or shift in social class had occurred, which means that she was now inkazana. But such had not been the case with Vuyokazi. So she stayed on as intombi yemichocho until her lover underwent the socio-spiritual orientation process of ulwaluko and became indoda. Then she got married to him. Vuyokazi's deed was a classic example of what is called ukubukula umendo wesinyanzeliso, the rejection of an attempted forced marriage, a marriage that would have come by way of ukuthwala. This was an outright denunciation of ukuthwala as a marriage precedent by this girl. And now, a number of such intermittent setbacks confronting ukuthwala rendered ukuthwala a despised method of facilitating marriage. Hence, the assertion that the concept of ukucela intombi evolved into a positive negation of ukuthwala